Hey y'all, thanks for stopping by. So as the title suggests, this video is a bit of an appeal to Jordan Peterson fans. If you're a fan of his, don't worry, I'm not just going to spend this whole time railing on the guy. Hear me out on this. And the only reason I started making this is I saw a post the other day, a screenshot of a YouTube video titled something about the changing of societal norms is a bigger threat than climate change. I went and watched that video. It's about an hour long of an interview that he did. And it's as expected with a Jordan Peterson interview, but it's linked below if you want to watch it. And I saw that, and I was trying to search for it, and I searched just the name, and then I tried to sort by, upload date to see if I could find it that way. And holy crap, there's just so much re-uploaded content of this guy. It's like there's just channels that do nothing but like Peterson motivation and this and that, and they're all just the same kind of recycled clips over and over of like his lectures or interviews or things like that. But people really listen to what this guy has to say, or at least it seems like it. The like to dislike ratio on all those videos is always extremely positive, so obviously it's working for some people. There's a personal thing with Peterson. I was actually introduced to him probably, I think it was around 2004 is when I bought Maps of Meaning. I bought it after my father passed, and I was just going through some things, trying to figure out how to kind of deal with, and I didn't like the religious people who, I didn't like the thought of, oh, he's in a better place, it's God's plan, things like that. I never liked how that sounded to me, and I wanted to find a different answer. And honestly, I'd never heard of the guy or anything like that. I just saw the book on a shelf in the library, and I just liked the title, to be honest. And I read it, and I thought it was good, but when I was going through it, the big takeaway from me with it was it introduced me to Jung. I From that book, I never looked at any of, once he started uploading to YouTube or things like that, it never occurred to me to watch any of that stuff. But I can say that Jordan Peterson did introduce me to philosophy and those just people I'd never heard of before. With that being said, I honestly wish that most of his fan base would do that. I don't think that most of what he says regarding his specific field of expertise is wrong. He does seem like he genuinely cares about like his clinic patients and his students and stuff like that. I don't think that some people I've heard refer to him as a grifter, but I think he does believe the stuff that he says. But it is interesting when you look at how his career progressed and his entrance into the public eye. Maps of Meaning came out in 99, and from then up until maybe 2016, he didn't publish another book. He was, of course, still being a professor and stuff like that. But then in 2016 is when he started coming out with his Professor versus Political Correctness series. And then, of course, him famously misunderstanding Canadian law regarding Bill C-16. And before you comment that C-16 is compelled speech, it's not. It's really not. You're not going to go to jail for misgendering somebody in Canada. That's not how that law works. It's got to be really extreme for you to be charged with hate crimes in Canada. That was addressed when he was in court. There's been plenty of articles by people much smarter than I am breaking down how he was wrong about C-16. But the damage was already done. once he had that interview, he had a Patreon out, and he went from no interest on it to he was pulling $50,000 a month from Patreon subscriptions. And then shortly after that, he came out with not Maps of Meaning, he came out with the first 12 Rules for Life. And it sold like crazy because he was already in the public eye. And then from that, he started getting the interviews. And I know everybody has seen that Kathy Newman interview. And a lot of people make fun of her for that interview. But there's one part of that interview that I don't see brought up a lot. And that's when she addresses him referring to transgender activism, to Maoism. And he says something along the lines of, why isn't that a fair comparison? The same ideology guides their utterances. I honestly do not know how you can make that connection other than it just sounds like being reactionary. And sure, you will get, it does seem more common that left-leaning people are, pro-trans rights, but not every left-leaning person is a Maoist. That's a very minimal amount of at least, real world left-leaning people. I can't talk about people who, the anti-grass folks, but, my issue with Jordan Peterson is him going out of his area of expertise. When he talks about psychology, he's usually profound. It's usually accurate stuff. But the problem with it is then reaching out beyond that. And people will still hold him to the same level of validity as when he's talking about things within his field. That could be said about any major public figure, though. People are always going to branch out farther about things that they're not 100%, that is their specialty. I think the most common one that you see people is like Neil deGrasse Tyson. They have him talk about almost anything, and they're like, dude, he's an astrophysicist. Like, just, no, he doesn't need to talk about societal norms and things like that, but it gets clicks. People know that name, so they watch it. Same thing could be said about Jordan Peterson. If you are a Jordan Peterson fan and you've somehow made it this far, my only request for you is just please branch out. Branch out some, if anything. His self-help stuff is fine, albeit a little bit hand-wavy. But look at the people who he's referencing. Try reading some Jung or some Dostoevsky or some Nietzsche or any of those people. Just go to his sources and try to see what they said, and then make your own answers. I get that, he's a charismatic guy, and he says profound things, but if you look at the people who re-upload his content, and those fan bases, it's ridiculous. And I don't know if you really want to associate yourself with people like that. I mean, if you do, sure, do what you do, man, but there's a lot more profound thought that you can find other than regurgitations from Canadian conservatism. And I really hope you can find it.